In our first story, India's 71st Republic Day parade on Sunday showcased several firsts, like the Prime Minister paid homage to martyrs at National War Memorial instead of Amar Jawan Jyoti at India Gate. It also included Chinook and Apache helicopters and DRDO-developed anti-satellite weapon system. On Sunday, India marked its 71st Republic Day with a parade showcasing some of its newly acquired capabilities and military hardware, both homegrown as well as bought from abroad, like the US-made heavy-lift Chinook and the anti-tank attack Apache helicopters. The ceremony lasted 1.5 hours as Indian President Ramnath Kovind took salute. It was witnessed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and chief guest of this year's parade was Brazilian President Jair Messias Bolsonaro. The ceremonies this year was marked by several firsts, starting with PM Narendra Modi paying homage to soldiers killed in battle at National War Memorial instead of the Amar Jawan Jyoti at India Gate. Other firsts included a contingent of women bikers of paramilitary Central Reserve Police Force that performed daredevil stunts. Marching for the first time in the Republic Day parade was a contingent of the Corps of Army Air Defence that was recently awarded colours by the President of India. One of the showstoppers of the parade was India's anti-satellite weapons system that can shoot down a low orbital satellite. The finale was marked by a breathtaking flypast that too saw many new elements, which included 3 of India's newly acquired Chinook helicopters. The Chinooks were followed by 5 Apaches flying in an arrowhead formation. Both were inducted into the Indian Air Force last year and made their debut at this year's parade. The newly amended Citizenship Act has drawn objections by OCI card holders. Initially, OCI were not under India's jurisdiction, but now they have to abide by provisions of the Citizenship Act to retain their OCI cards. India has been fixated on the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 and the protests it has triggered for over a month now. The provisions of the law has drawn huge debates, with a distinction between Muslim illegal immigrants and non-Muslim illegal immigrants from 3 countries in India's vicinity. 2 changes in the amendment concerning overseas Indian citizens, though, has escaped attention. Firstly, a new provision has been added to allow an individual's overseas citizen of India status to be cancelled. Under Section 7D of the Citizenship Act 1955, an individual could lose his OCI if he violates any of the provisions of the Citizenship Act 1955 or the provisions of any other law as specified by the central government. Secondly, a provision has been added that mandates that an individual's OCI status should not be cancelled without the person being given a reasonable opportunity of being heard. The major constitutional concern with this new clause is the absence of legislative guidelines on the laws that the government may select to be applicable to OCI card holders. The new clause would make it possible for the government to specify legal obligations in force in India that OCI card holders would be required to abide by. Thus, even if the OCI card holders may not be subject to the jurisdiction of Indian courts for the majority of their activities, they might be subject to obligations under Indian law to maintain their OCI status. Praising India's aerospace advancement and efforts of Indian Space Agency ISRO, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the Gaganyaan mission will be a historical feat for the whole nation. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the proposed Gaganyaan mission will be a historic achievement for India in the 21st century. He talked about the mission during his Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio. The Prime Minister said, as India celebrates its 75th year of independence in 2022, the country has to fulfill the pledge to take an Indian into space through the Gaganyaan mission. Modi praised the 4 pilots of the Indian Air Force who have been selected as astronauts for the mission and their forthcoming training in Russia. After their training for over a year, they will shoulder the responsibility of carrying the hopes and aspirations of the nation and soaring into space.